Today on our show,
Paul's back, still here.
Check him out.
I never left.
He never left. Come on back to us. We're going to talk about this, man. Paul, he does comics from time to time, and he did the hell out of this comic. This is a real story. We're going to dive deep into it right here on this edition.
Get your tissues,
Batman on
kids.
Batman. Pull them tissues, man. Get ready for the real feels. Hello, welcome to Fat Man on Batman. I'm Kevin Smith.
Marc Bernardin.
Okay, over there, Paul Dini, still with us here in the Fat Cave.
I was sleeping
day
under
long.
the desk. It's very comfy.
He went nowhere.
Yep.
Except in his career, he went everywhere. Then he came to the Fat Cave and just stayed here. All last episode, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. All we did was cover Paul's prehistory up until this moment in time, right there, man.
Yes.
This is what we're going to throw up that graphic you got. Yes.
Yep.
You see that? It's called Dark Knight, a true Batman story written by Mr. Paul Dini himself with art by the amazing Eduardo Risso. This is a Vertigo title.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
When was the last time Batman was in a Vertigo book?
I don't think so. I don't think ever. Maybe
historic,
Black
isn't it?
Orchid or something like that.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
Black Orchid or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
They normally, for those that don't follow this sort of thing, generally they keep them separate.
Yep.
Batman stays in the DCU and Vertigo stays in Vertigo. But this is a special occasion. Paul, as you heard in the last episode, has rich, deep history with Warner Brothers, DC, and all the Batman characters, including creating Harley Quinn with Bruce Timm. So Paul's entrenched in the universe, in not just the DC Warner Brothers universe of superheroes and whatnot, but also just everything that you love. As we heard from the last episode, he's been involved in from Fat Albert all the way from
He-Man, Ewoks and droids.
Come on, man. He's worked with Lucas. He's worked with Spielberg and stuff. And you hear that and you're like, lucky, amazing, talented. Like, boy, why does all the good things happen
God's
to him?
own idiot.
There you go.
There you go.
But then into
Fortune's
every life,
fool. Yeah, there you go.
a little rain must fall, man. And there's, in this instance, this is a story of much, much worse than rain, and it's a survivor story. This Dark Knight, man, this came from a story that Paul told me, that like one of those stories where you hear somebody tell you like, oh, that happened in a movie, and it happened in real life. It's a true story. And it was a harrowing tale, which I'm going to give him a single, and he's going to tell you a bit about it. But like any good artist, he's taken his pain and turned it into something useful, a useful document for not just change, but also heavens, man. This is a story about survival in many more ways than one. But you know what? I'm burying the lead. Give him a single and tell him what happened.
Well, I got to thank you for Kevin for in the first place for me writing this, because I remember it was like 3 or 4 years ago. Misty and I were on your show with Jen, and we were talking, just sort of chit-chatting, and on the morning show you do, and you came up with, well, tell me about the mugging, and it's like, oh, the mugging, oh, that happened a long time ago, and I don't know if you and I had discussed that before, or people you knew about it or anything, and it was like, yeah, okay, so we started talking about it, and then when I was done explaining it, you said, man, if that happened to me, I never would have left my house. No. And I said, oh, man, come on. Hell, you wouldn't have. You're a film director. You deal with a lot of responsibility. You're out there. You've got a lot of decisions to make. You would have left your house. And it's like, well, maybe not. And I was thinking, I do know people who have had a traumatic instance in their life that has sort of define them in a certain way. Either they've risen above it and they've overcome their hardship and gone on, or else they've crumbled or withdrawn. And the more I thought about it, the more I was thinking, like, maybe that's a story worth putting down, worth telling about how to get out. And God knows that a lot of most other people have dealt with more hardships than I have, but I think everybody has a moment, like that, that crossroads moment of like, how do I get through this? How do I go on? And I thought, okay, well, I think it's worth telling. And I went into Dan DiDio's office, and he was there with Jeff Johns, and we talked about it, and they both, agreed, we'll write it up, show it to us. Dan really liked the story. Jeff liked the story. I met with them both separately, and we discussed it. And Dan thought it would be a really good story for Vertigo, because we could be a little more extreme and take more chances, and also, it's the uniqueness of having Batman in a Vertigo story, and yet it's not really a canon Batman story. It is and it isn't a Batman story. It's It's not one that really falls within the purview of the universe, but it deals with Batman more as an idea and as a concept and as a character in a writer's brain. And because I've written Batman, it became like, well, this is the extension of myself that I use when I write Batman. And it happened, the incident happened, you know, what the incident is about is like, I was mugged one night, walking a date home from her car. It happened not far from here. In fact, I was driving up Wilshire Boulevard and I passed Bombay Palace, which was the restaurant I'd gone to earlier that night. So this is right in the neighborhood. At some point, I could take you right over to the street where it happened. Ooh. And I was walking home from the evening, and my thoughts were someplace else. And I see some guys coming down the street, and it's just like, I'm gonna keep going. And as they passed me, they started making fun of me, like just a few steps ahead. And I looked up at them, and they leapt me. They leapt on me, and they beat the living shit out of me. And it was just wrong place at the wrong time, and. Everything.
It wasn't like it was a neighborhood. Would you even expect it? It's not like I was walking downtown. You were just walking like Beverly Hills, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah, and it was like it was very close to my house. It was 2 blocks away, and there are
2 blocks from your house.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
man.
There are a lot of artists and writers and athletes who live in the neighborhood. So these guys look just like anybody else I would have seen at the market or any place else. And I just thought, a couple of neighbors, and then they just cracked me. So.
So you crawl home after that? How do you didn't, and you lived through it obviously, but I mean in the moment, we've talked about this and it's in the book.
Yeah.
There were moments where you thought that was the moment.
Yeah, I mean clearly they told me it was the moment. It's like, we have a gun, we're going to shoot you. We're going to, wait, close your eyes, wait for it. And it was like, okay. This is it. And at that moment there was a weird moment of clarity, like, say your prayers, rabbit. It's like, okay. And, but it was, I don't mean to be that cavalier about it, but it was almost like a whiteout. It was like, this is it. And then when I felt nothing and I heard nothing, and then I opened my eyes and I was there, and I was just lying there, just bleeding. And it was like, what are you going to do? You're going to sit here? No, you're going to get up and go home. It's like, get up, go home. And somehow I found the resolve to get to my feet, walk home, gather the things they had scattered around because they'd ripped my pants open going through my stuff, and went home. And up until this point, I had led a pretty cavalier life. I was dating girls that it was very unsubstantial relationship life. It was girls who I felt made me look good, and actressy types. And again, I thought, living the bachelor life, or how I defined it. And I could spend a lot of money on toys, and I'm writing a cartoon show that everybody seems to like, and I'm, kind of living the geek's dream. And, and I went home. And just with the thing that hurt the most was knowing there would be no one to say, oh my God, when I walked in the door, there'd just be toys. There'd be animation cells. There'd be comic books. And there'd be me.
Fuck, dude, you're a writer.
Yeah.
I mean, like, pain aside, you are a writer. So you get home.
Yeah.
Do you go to the hospital, or you're like, how fucked up were you?
Well, it was, my nose wasn't broken. Everything was really soft and squishy feeling.
Uh-huh.
And I felt like I had just, I had been mangled, and I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to do anything. I wanted to drink, and I took down a bottle of rum and I drained it. And the worst thing you can do is alcohol and heat after a trauma like that. And that was the only thing I wanted to do was just, soothe myself. The first thing first was I drank, then I called the police. And I said, I had this assault, and it happened nearby, and the police came, and we went back to the site. And, their attitude was kind of like, it wasn't, I would say it was cavalier, but it was, we'll do what we can.
Did they say you should go to a hospital, or?
Yeah, they did say, you may want to go to a hospital. That looks pretty bad. And I said, I'm just not up for it now. I don't want to go. I don't want to sit in the emergency room. I don't want to see anybody. I'll go tomorrow. I'll go see my doctor tomorrow. And I went home and I called a few people, and that's kind of outlined in the book. One friend of mine said, my boyfriend will drive you to the hospital right away. And it's like, I've never met your boyfriend before, and this is going to be awkward. There's some dude I don't even know. I don't want him to spend like 3 hours in emergency and us having to make small talk. Thank you very much, but I'll just tough it out. So I drank the rest of the bottle of Myers rum, went up and sat in a bathtub and went to bed and just fantasized like, oh, Batman, where were you? Why didn't you come to my rescue? You know, that sort of thing. You know, I think that's a logical thing, you know. And even one of the cops said, you write cartoons? And I said, yeah. Which one, Batman? Well, you should have been here tonight, shouldn't he? It's like, yeah.
Oh, man. You're like, everyone's a writer in this town.
You know, earlier I had taken, and this is in the book, I had found like the receipt from dinner was still on the lawn. They'd taken it out of my pocket. I said, "Do you want to take that and dust for prints?" And the guy said, "That's okay."
It's like his life's not like a TV show.
Yeah. It's like, I think they said, look, you know, it was bad what happened, and we're sorry, but if we get more reports of this happening in the neighborhood, we'll give you a call. If we run anybody in, we'll have you in, but. Underneath the subtext was sort of like, you live through this, count your blessings and go home and do what you have to do, go to the hospital and you know, and that was kind of it. You know, I called them later and I called them a couple of times, a couple of days, and they said, your case has been assigned a number, and if we hear anything, we'll call you. And either the guys, it was an isolated incident, or they moved on, or whatever. I never heard anything more about it.
But you had to deal with the after effects.
Yeah.
So you carry that like luggage.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you start to question the idea of I think anybody who's been in the same situation, you question the idea of justice, you know, and how somebody can go to a fast food restaurant and get coffee sloshed on them and get a minor burn and then sue for millions. And then I'm lying here nearly, you know, beaten unconscious and bleeding, and I'll, you know, I have to pay for it. You know, I have my insurance, and I have to pay out of pocket for whatever it takes, and I'll never see those guys again. There's nobody saw anything, and it was just one of those things. I mean, a lot of time, I had a weird image was going through my head when they were doing the attack of being like attacked by like a bear or an animal attack, where something just rushes you out of the bush and it just rips you open and runs away, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I don't necessarily mean to dehumanize anybody. It's just as a result of the attack was so swift and so sudden and so isolated, and the only thing I could do was, like being attacked by a bear, is just wait it out. I can't fight back. You know, I just can't.
What were the extent of the injuries?
This part of my face was shattered. The zygomatic arch was broken. My nose was fractured, but it didn't need to be reset. They kicked me very hard in the thigh, so there was a big bruise there. One of the attackers was aiming for my kneecap, and I managed to move. But I knew that if he took out my kneecap,
that's that.
That was that. And just kicks and smashes to the face, mostly all over the face, but mostly here.
Oh, Jesus!
And when I fell on the ground, the mid body area got it.
Right. So, at what point do you feel ready to re-engage with the world after that? How long did you crawl into the house or crawl into the rum to be by yourself before you were like, all right, I'm ready to re-engage?
Well, there was a moment, like afterwards, I thought, okay, life's going on. I'm gonna deal with this, get through it. And so, the next day I went to the doctor and he said, go to the hospital. And I went to see a surgeon, and he said, we're going to schedule you for surgery because this whole side of your face is broken in a day. So, or a day and a half. So basically, get ready to come in day after tomorrow. So, and I said, okay, I'm going to, I'll deal with it. I'll go to work. So I, put on a pair of sunglasses, went to work, and I thought, okay, business as usual. And I started dealing with it, and then I went to the hospital, had the surgery done, and after that, I retreated. It was like, I want to take a few steps back from this. I'm not as brave and as ballsy as I thought. I want to stay home. I don't want to go into work. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to see people. I just want to stay home. I want to stay where it's comfy. I want to stay inside where
it's safe.
It's safe, yeah. And so it was a process of, trying to get myself out of that. And, we were in the middle of writing the Mask of the Phantasm movie. And
that's when this happened?
Yeah. And Alan Burnett kept calling me and said, you're going to you want me to give your scenes to somebody else? You want off the project? And it's like, yeah, I think I do, because I don't want to. Character doesn't make any sense to me anymore. I mean, he just sort of, where's Batman? It doesn't really exist. And then why does this stuff happen? I kind of lost. I felt like I lost the ability to write this stuff. And gradually, my life turned around. Thank God.
We're good. Keep going.
Okay. Thank God, Alan. Held my scenes for me. He was a very good friend for me throughout this, and very supportive. And yet, it was sort of. I reached this juncture when I realized, okay, your life is going to go one or two ways. You're either going to stay here, or you're going to get out there again, and you have to, And I don't think I'm going to be happy staying here. And the more I dwelled in my head, the more that voice of stay here, stay where it's safe. And the more I would get out, the more I'd talk to people, the more it would be like outside's better. And I would talk to people who were starting to enjoy the show. And I would talk to people who had enjoyed cartoons and some of the stuff that I had written. And even if it was just a chance occurrence, it would be like, that things were going okay before then, and there was a lot of my own hubris that got me into this situation, but maybe I can kind of take control of my life again and go back out among people again, and I don't have to look toward beyond myself to make myself happy. That's going to come from inside.
So life sort of brought you back to life.
Yeah. There were encounters with other people who I talked to, who just said, one fellow in particular said, my wife's really sick and we watch cartoons. It's the only thing that makes life good. So it's like, well, if I could be a part of that, I don't want to walk away.
No, that's fucking odd. I mean, come on, dude. Like right then and there, you're impacting somebody's life. You write the stuff off as like, it's frivolity, but it's like, that makes all the fucking difference to them.
Yeah.
So that brings you back. So then that makes you go like, you know what? Fucking, I'm going back in. I'm going to dive back into life. How long do you think you were nervous, scared, frightened before you were like, all right, I'm ready to take life on again?
Well, about, I think the core of it was about 2 or 3 months. We're just sitting at home, and very, very rarely did I go into work, or if it was for an hour or two, and I would call in sick a lot of times because I just wasn't up for dealing with it. And I would come back and kind of question, what's the point of this? I'm just doing it by myself. It doesn't matter to anybody, and who cares, really? And it just had to matter to me. And so through talking to other people and through the support of some very good people, friends and family members, I kind of saw in me what they saw.
Nice.
So.
Well, we all see everything in you, dude. You're our fucking hero. And you're especially with this story, dude, you're my hero. Like, I said it when you told me the story, I maintain it now. I would have been destroyed. That would have been it for me, man. That would have taken me out of the game. You're going along in your life a certain path, and you think your biggest problems are some anonymous asshole on the internet going, like, you suck at your job. Like, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
You're walking down the street and suddenly life fucking punches you in the face until you think like it's over and stuff.
Yeah.
You found a way to kind of put it all back together, go back out, man. That's heroic and stuff. When does this come into play?
That comes into play June 21st. That's when it comes out, and it'll be available online at Amazon.
But when did? I'm sorry. No, well, that's good to know. It's coming out. But when was the moment where? How long was it between the incident and that? This has got to be like 20 years.
Shit. Yeah, 23 years.
23 years between incident and moment.
23 years. It was late January 1993, and it was like almost like it was around the 26th, 27th of that month. That was the night I was out. It was cold, winter night, walking home, and it was So it's been a long time, and I don't think I could have told the story back then. It would have been a different story. It would have been a story where I don't think I would have learned as much, and I wouldn't have experienced as much. I could have told that 5 or 10 years, but it's like the time, the hurt went away, the perspective changed, my life changed in a lot of ways. I began looking at myself and the people around me a little more different. There was a whole thing of forgiveness to work through, both for myself, for the attackers, for letting it go, for the idea that for whatever reason they did it for, and whoever they are, I just hope their life is better. They just don't do stuff like this for their own sake.
When was the first time you were able to go back to writing Batman?
It was about a month or two after that. I mean, we were really needed to get the Phantasm script underway, and I'd been delaying a lot of it, and the other writers were writing, stuff that I should have been writing, and it was like, when, it's in the book. One night I was out, and the guy was talking to me about how much cartoons meant to him and his wife, and I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't hang up on it. So it was like within a night or two of that, I actually was watching one of the old one of the episodes. I'm watching it on VHS and going like, how did I used to do this shit? I'm sitting there on my old Apple computer and trying to think like, okay, Joker talks like that. And I realized like I hadn't really forgotten it. I just didn't want to. It was almost like embracing it was sort of bringing back an element of the pain about the idea that, okay, the fantasy of it, and I had to delve back into the fantasy of okay, Batman's not going to make, my life any better in a real way, but maybe I can at least write a good Batman story again. So that, got me back into it, and also just, Did writing the character, did your Batman change after this? Like, because every writer who takes on the character is writing a slightly different Batman. Yeah.
So how does the Batman that you write post that event differ from the one you wrote pre that event?
In a way, he became a little more human, I think. He became a little more like, he'll still go out and beat people up and everything, but in my head, he was a little more circumspect about it, or maybe a little more like, there are people I'm beating up, and, maybe just doing the Frank Miller thing of smashing somebody's head through a glass window. It's cool and visceral, but maybe once the guy stops moving, that's the time to tie him up and leave him. And not, work him to the point.
That conscience is what you're talking about.
A little bit, because I had the moment, and it's in there, of like that first night trying to go to sleep. Yeah, if he just swung down and smashed him, kicked him out of their car. Oh, because when I was walking home, they tried to run me down their car. They'd been waiting.
You saw him again?
Oh yeah. Once I got up, I was walking home, and I was trying to stay in the light. I was crossing the street, and this car just shot down the road, and it was the two guys, and they had gotten in their car and they were driving off, and they saw me, and they like honked the horn, skidded the brakes, and shouted all sorts of lovely things out of the window and flipped me off and laughed and everything. And
so in the book, you imagine Batman swinging down.
Yeah, and just smashing into the front of the car and tossing them out, and who wouldn't? It's like stuff like that.
But the reason we imagine shit like that is because someone like you imagines it for us first. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the reason so many of us have Batman, anti-crime or fucking saving fantasies, are because we've seen it at play in a cartoon, in a game, in a comic book or something like that. So there is that feeling of like, in a just world, some dude in a costume would do right by me.
Yeah.
But that's not really the right
But then
world.
you hear stories like the Dean Tripp, who wrote that book, Something Terrible, which was all about, I mean, which is beautiful, but it's about Batman actually saving him from dealing with just the tragedy of childhood abuse. Like, it's very real for him. In a way that, it is not real for other people because other people don't have to live through it. But so much of that is part of the work that you do, is helping other people through Batman get over any number of just devastating traumas.
Sure.
And ironically, Batman seemingly helped you.
Yes, he did.
In the same way.
Well, he became that stern voice I had to hear. Somebody who read the book said, Batman's not very nice to you in the book. And it's like, no, he shouldn't be. He should be like, Dad. He should be like a drill sergeant. He should be like, it's not a question of being nice. It's like, get off your ass. Go off and do something. You don't like your life, do something about it.
But to be fair, he should be nice to you. You can put some of the best fucking words he's ever spoken into his mouth.
Yeah, well, he'll never admit it. I mean, he's got to be a hard ass. He's got to be Batman. Now, the Joker, on the other hand, wants to be your pal. He's like, buddy boy, take it easy. Sit down, take a load off. You don't have to work today. And that's the worst thing you want. That's the most easy thing to listen to, but it's the last thing you should be doing. But so it really is angel and devil. Batman is like grim, get up, you do something with your life, and the Joker is like,
just do it.
Take it easy.
Just do it.
Oh, Batman is Shia LaBeouf, apparently.
Pretty much.
Let's throw up. Let's go to the 3, if you will, and let's throw up some of the graphics that we've got from inside the book. These are some sketches that the great Eduardo Risso did.
Rizzo, he is phenomenal. He did
what he's 100 bullets.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he did something else too. He's done a lot of things.
Yeah.
But there was another. Is he working on the Dark Knight book?
I think he is.
Artists?
He's one of the artists. Yeah. He's doing that right now, and it was a real change of pace for him because it's like a real world story. So a lot of stuff he's drawing is not as visceral as 100 bullets. It's like me, at work or sitting around a conference table or anything. But he brought it all.
Dudes at desks.
Yeah,
he did you at a desk pretty well though. Like in terms of like having to draw a guy writing.
Yeah,
it's pretty damn awesome.
Yeah.
It's a very active panel. Throw that back up. I'm sorry, we were all looking away.
So there's his version of the Penguin, which is really
amazing.
great.
That's cool. Look at his beak.
It's like it's a very unique version, but it does read as Penguin. And Penguin's in the story is the guy who kind of like the Joker, who's like take it easy, have another drink. So
the villains kind of let you wallow in like your self-pity.
Yes.
And Batman's like, get up.
Yeah. I mean, the Penguin is like and Joker like indulgence. Two-Face is like, this is okay. This happened to you for a reason, and the reason is inside you're kind of an ugly dude, and you made some really bad choices in your life.
We can go live again. Go live. This is good.
And Poison Ivy is there to remind me of every failure I've ever had in dating and trying to, be something I'm not to girls who I want to see me a certain way. So it's like they're there to strip away elements of this veneer that I put up for myself at the time, and
God damn
gets in there some way.
Only you could get away with this too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, aside from the incident that incites it, you put enough time in with the character in the world where, even if people are like, well, I don't want to mix my Batman with the real world and psychology, you get the pass because it's like, hey, this guy's family.
Yeah.
Like, he's so much family, he created family for the family, in the family, like Harley Quinn. So that gives you the license to do it, and you jammed it, man. It's phenomenal. Let's look at your works to go ahead.
Yeah,
sir.
you know those characters better than most people do. So you know the sort of the Greek archetypes that all of these characters are pulling out.
Yeah.
And this chorus that's sort of swirling around you, just tempting you here and pulling you there and pushing you this way.
I was really inspired by, Greek drama, Greek chorus and things like that, where outside voices are working inside the main character's head, even to the point of something contemporary like Woody Allen's Play It Again, Sam, where he's going through a divorce and the ghost of Bogart is over his shoulders, sort of, talking to him and things like that. It's where the line between reality and fantasy melds. And as a kid who grew up with cartoons and who could always, I would zone out in church and the Looney Tunes would play in front of my head and stuff like that. And it was like a defense mechanism, you use your imagination, you treat no imagination and everything, and you find a lot of comfort there. So in with these characters that I've worked with and I know, so they were extensions of fears and demons and hopes.
Let's look at throw up the workplace photos, the workspace. Now this is kind of interesting, man. Walk us through this.
Well, this is at my house. In my writer's room, I have a big, these wooden doors there off to one side. And as I was writing the story, I would create these collages of certain images that I was trying to, evoke or emotions. And I would take images from the comics or from my childhood or from just any place, comic books, and I would kind of juxtapose them on the computer, so they all meant different things. So there's a shot there of Two-Face and a doctor doing a very similar operation to the one I had, about the idea of cutting back part of my face and everything. So Two-Face was a very, a vivid image for that. There for a while I was thinking, I'm going to go off and buy a gun. So, hey kids.
Did you really?
Let's go buy a gun.
Go back to us. Yeah. There was a moment where you were like, I should get a gun.
Oh yeah, and it was, and then
the least Batman thing you could ever think.
I know, but there was a reason why I did it, and there's a reason why I didn't. So, and
that's part of the story as well.
That's part of the story as well.
That is like, what's beautiful about that is some writers good writers will do note cards and place them up and stuff. That's an even more graphically beautiful version of, this is where my story's going to go.
Right.
Like, you're laying it out there for yourself, so that when you write, you're just looking up there and pulling memories and thoughts, man.
And not everything made it in there, but like I would find a shot of the Riddler and I would go like, the question isn't why this happened, it's who cares? And who really gives a shit about your little problems? Or Mr. Freeze being very cold and saying, shit happens, get over it, who cares? And
it's so smart, man. Like, I mean, on one level, I wanted to be like, I'm so fucking jealous, but you had to go through hell to get through this, so I'm not that jealous. But like, it's such an insanely good idea to kind of psychoanalyze oneself using the Batman family.
Well, they're so vivid and they're so iconic. They each represent anything, So they each represent a different thing. People have said, why is Harley Quinn not in the book? And it's like, she represents happiness.
Excellent point, man. God damn it, Paul. You never stop writing. Always a beautiful writer, man. Like, if you've never seen, and who the fuck has, if you're watching the show, clearly you've seen the Mr. Freeze episode, Heart of Ice.
Heart of Ice,
Batman Animated Series, Season 1, I believe.
Yeah.
I remember watching that.
Out of the fucking gate.
Right? Go to the 3-shot. It's crazy, man. I remember watching, I was working at Quick Stop that is in Clerks. Yeah. And I taped it, and I remember, I called Walter Flanagan, who's on Comic Book Man, to just be like, did you just watch, because that was when they ran in the afternoon, did you just watch Batman? He's like, yes. I was like, have they ever done that Mr. Freeze story anywhere? He goes, no, and I've been reading comics for 25 years. I was like, that is astounding. They transcended the genre. Like, you turn that character from something hokey and stupid, George Sanders speaking a bad pidgin German accent, to this really sad story of a broken love and world getting in the way, happenstance, a really tragic villain, as opposed to just he's got a nice gun.
He likes things cold.
Yeah, he likes it chilly. But that's you all over, man. You find a way to do the humane even, in a world of characters that are fucking monsters in cartoons. These characters are two-dimensional in the hands of most people, but when I think of the great Batman writers, you are fucking up there.
Well,
it's you, and not you are fucking up there. You are up there.
I mean, you could be if you want.
Well, I have been accused of that too. So,
but shoulder to shoulder with the bigs, with the legends, dude. Because again, you didn't just come in and play with their toys. You came in, made their toys better. By the time you left, they had better and more toys to play with. Yeah. And they had more fun, even with you or without you.
Well, Batman is such a rich world, and the characters are so iconic, and they're so evocative of different things. Catwoman is always, at least I always think of her as like the forbidden love. If I go that far to be with her, I lose everything. If I kill the Joker, I become him. If I'm like Two-Face, and I've got two identities, and how am I different from him? And all these things that kind of bring out extensions of Batman's soul or his personality. They become more than the character is. They become like ideas. So that's what I was tapping into with these guys. Is like, what's the character about?
This has a metric fuck ton of soul in it, man. You know what I'm saying? Most Batman stories you read, you enjoy, but they're beat 'em up fantasies and stuff. Yeah. This goes deep. This runs really deep. If there was, and one day there will be, because it looks like everything's coming up, genre, geek, nerd, whatever you want to call it these days. Yeah. If there was a Mount Rushmore, as we see in our logo, for Batman writers, your face is on it, dude. Your face got to be on it. You brought something to it. You know what I'm saying? You brought a lot to the franchise. I would take off my hat, but I got a hat hit. But you know how I feel about you and your work. It's amazing. But this is I'm so proud of you for doing this, because I know this was hard.
Well, thank you for kicking it awake in my head again. Without you, without that talk we had, it would have just sort of been an unpleasant memory. So
I remember the first day you were like, I'm working on that as a story. I'm going to do it as a book. And I was like, that's genius, dude. Mm-hmm. That's how you ultimately, you put your life back together and moved on. This is 22 years ago, whatever. Yeah. But this is the final step. You know what I'm saying? Now it's something you've taken your pain, turn it into something useful for yourself and other people.
Yeah. Somebody's going to read that and go like, okay, if the slob can get through it, I can. That sort of thing.
You ain't no slob. Go 3-shot. This guy ain't no slob.
No.
OG Batman writer right there.
Why do we fall down, Master Bruce? So we can get back up again.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
I saw that was in one of them Avengers movies.
Yes.
Bruce very Banner. Appropriate for this. Paul, we love you for everything you've done. Thanks. We love, and this included is yet another the huge plaudits put up on the many plaudited wall of Paul Dini, dude. You keep doing it. Some people just start phoning in. I'm phoning it in late in my career.
I ain't seen
Look at you, dude. You're doing this.
Well,
you know what I'm
thank you.
saying?
Well played.
Thank you, my brother. I
Excellent
really,
job.
I owe you more than I could say.
Not at all. Are you kidding me? I owe you my kid's name. We were going to call her Batman Smith. Thank God for Harley Quinn.
I'm just glad she didn't show up at my house around age 9, with that baseball bat you got her going, Paul, can you come out a minute? I got to talk to you for the funny name.
When she was a kid, we didn't know if she'd ever like her name, but now she loves it.
Oh, yeah.
She's positioned well. Like, it's a Harley Quinn world now. So people are like, oh. When she was little, everyone always I'd be like, what's her name? I'd be like, Harley. And they'd be like, oh, you ride?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, no. Yeah. But nowadays, you go like, what's her name? I'm like, Harley. They're like, oh, I can't wait for Suicide Squad. And
there you
go.
Like,
oh my God, we're in that world now.
I've seen, Harley is getting to be a more and more common name for girls, and it's almost like it probably was, but this is sort of, it puts it out there. Like before James Barrie wrote Peter Pan, nobody named their kid Wendy, and then suddenly it just sort of took off.
There's going to be a wave of children born like next July.
Yeah,
all named Harley.
You ain't kidding.
Oh yeah,
you ain't kidding.
Like the 9-month boom. Like,
the Suicide effect. Suicide Squad effect. Yes, dude, and you finally taken that name and probably given it a little license plate at Disney World. Because for years I always look for hardly anything. You can find Harley Davidson. But now, man, that kid's name is about to be mainstream thanks to those movies. Harley, we're now going to be able to find on a coffee cup.
That's right.
It's a good thing. It's a great thing. I know it's a small first world problem for a guy with a kid named Harley. It's a big deal in my world. There it is, folks. The book, again, is called Dark Knight, A True Batman Story, written by the one, the only Paul Dini, standing right over there.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
An absolute legend. Thank you for coming in, sir.
Thank you.
Go get the book. Comes out
Do it. June 21st.
June 21. Hardcover or softcover or what?
Hardcover.
First?
Yep.
We got, what's this about? Galleys?
That's Galleys.
Softcover?
It's an arc,
Give me a
bitch.
hardcover, dude. I want to be able to
Oh
do
yeah,
that.
you're on the list. You're on the comp
That's
list.
how you get free shit.
Yeah, there you go.
Only the guests.
I know where you live. I need your
know
address,
where
so
I
I gotta
live.
get you one.
There it is, man. Go out and get the book when it's out, folks. Or right until that comes out, go patronize any Paul Dini thing. Throw a rock. You will hit something Paul Dini's been involved
You
with.
just go watch that first season of Batman again.
Yeah,
Just go
there you
do
go.
it.
I'm here to feel amazing
Do it.
when you do. Thanks for hanging out, sir. That's
Thank you.
all the time we got here in the Fat Cave this week, man. Thanks for hanging out. I've been Kevin Smith.
I've been Marc Bernardin.
And I've been happy to be here.
Thank you. Happy to be here. So glad to have
Tune in next time. Same fat time, same fat channel.
you. YouTube.com/Kevin Smith.
Something like that.
Yay! I got it.
You did it. Hey man, it's me, Kevin Smith. Thanks for watching. Do me a favor, click that thing below that says subscribe. Every time you click that, you save a baby kitten from murder.